This is going to be a serious year of endless wake-up calls on people that we are aware of and people that we probably don't know. And this is a person that I wasn't really too familiar with at first until I had did some digging, but I'll tell you about that a little bit later on in the video. But first, before I get into the shout out to Kid Gravity, because if it wasn't for him posting or me getting the notification for the post that he makes on the X platform, I wouldn't even have seen this post that we're about to examine right now, coming from someone by the name of Byl Holte. Now, I was like, I don't know who this guy is, but I'm reading through it and I was like, oh God, here he goes. What is he about to say? What is he about to talk about right here? That's going to sound very off-codish, very tap dancing and all of that other stuff. And sure enough, this man was tap dancing from line 2, and he tap danced all the way till he was at the end of his little minstrel rant. So we're going to go through this thing line by line. The first thing he says is, let me make one thing clear. I am not African American, I'm American. So we already know what he's on just by saying that part right there. When he says that, when anybody, especially anyone who's black, says that, we already know who they're trying to pivot to or who they're talking to. They're not talking to us. Well, they're talking to us in a way of telling black people to get the F out of my face. I'm trying to get to the white person that's behind you or in front, like whatever the case may be. That's who he's trying to get next to. Then he says, I'm not a quote unquote black American, I'm an American. When you look in the mirror every day, what do you see? That's the bigger question. You say, I'm an American. You said, I'm a black American. Well, guess what? Society will tell you different. And I'm sure society probably has told him different. But of course, he's going to continue to go down in that rabbit hole and still continue to do so. But I'm sure that wake up call is coming. I don't have a quote unquote black brain. I have a brain. First off, what the hell is a black brain? Can anybody tell me what a black brain is? I've never heard that. I've even heard a black person say black brain. So I'm confused. I don't know who he heard that from. Then he says, I'm not self-hating. I hate the racists who try to put me in a box. Now watch, he's going to end up contradicting himself in 2 more lines. I'm sure y'all already read ahead a little bit, because that's the part that really got me the most. He says, I'm not self-hating. I hate the racists who try to put me in a box. Well, he's already on the train of self-hate just in the first few lines. And he says, I hate the racists who try to put me in a box. Well, the thing is, it sounds to me like you're trying to talk to the racists. So apparently you don't hate them that much, but okay. He says, I don't owe the so-called black community one damn thing. First off, who the hell are you? Why are you I don't even know where this post even came from. Again, a lot of these individuals who get on here who be trying to grift, I don't know what their deal is. It's like they just get on here and they just start talking for the sake of hearing themselves talk, and it's the weirdest thing. I don't know what it is. Their brain, speaking of brain, is like an endless maze that has no end. Like you go in one way and you get lost trying to get to the other side. That's how I determine what a person like his brain probably works like. He goes on to say, being black has never gotten me one damn thing up. Again, who are you? We're still trying to figure out who this guy is. I don't know who this is. After today, I may never do another video about this guy again, unless it's to strike up the violins for his wake-up call, which I'm sure is going to come in and it's going to hit heavy and it's going to hit hard and probably hopefully slow and painful at the same time. But he also says, I didn't choose my skin color, so I can't be proud of it. Who was he writing this to? Again, who was he addressing? Like, it sounds to me like he was just bored that day and decided to just put this on here just because. But here's the line right here that really, really caught my and a lot of other people's attention. He says, black is just something unfortunate that happened to me in the womb. Now let's pause right there, because that's the part right there that like made me actually want to talk about this. He says on line 5, was that line 5? I believe, I'm not self-hating. I hate the racists who put me in a box, but then comes back and says, Black is just something unfortunate that happened to me in the womb. If that's not the definition of self-hating, I don't know what is. Can this Byl Holte please explain to me what self-hate means to him? Because honestly, this guy is the now current poster child of self-hate, or at least one of them, because honestly, it could be way more than one. But right now, that's where he's put in for me. He says black is just something unfortunate. He said it was unfortunate he was born black, so I'm assuming he wishes he was born white. I can almost assume that's where he wants to be at. He wishes he was born a white man and not a black man. Well, here's the thing. There's plenty of like skin bleaching creams and I guess things out there you can put on, but at the end of the day, that DNA is going to say otherwise. You can always do it. It's another option you can do, but there's no reset button. So I would highly suggest you don't do that. I'm just saying, because you may not even come back as a human being. I'm just saying. Then he goes on to say, I would have changed it 40 years ago if I could. So I'm assuming he's 40. How would you do that? It's not like you would have known who your parents were. Like, what are we going to do? Like, just like, I don't know. Again, I don't know how he would have did it. He said, I would have changed it 40 years if I could. How would you have been able to change who you were, race-wise, ethnicity-wise? You have no control over that. You just don't. So I don't know. Again, this guy is like living in an area outside of his own mind. But again, he says he's not self-hating. But in a few lines later, he says that being black is something that's unfortunate that it happened to him in the womb, and he wish he could have changed it. And he says, because why would I choose to be the race that the Democrats are always saying have no hope or chance in this country? So now it goes back to a political thing. So this guy is literally writing an open, I guess you can say, Dear John letter to PC individuals who claim that they don't see color. And he's writing it to the Republicans, or the people probably over at MAGAville. Remember, they don't accept black people over there. In hopes that they'll find a way to let him in. It's very weird and very cryptic at the same time. But one thing we know is for sure, it's definitely filled with self-hate. And then he says, if that upsets you, unfollow me. I'm sure many people did unfollow him too. And what's interesting about the post is a lot of the PC individuals who would probably tend to agree with him had a lot to say, more so about the part where he says black is just something unfortunate. Even they were checking him about him saying don't hate yourself and all types of stuff like that. I mean, we'll quote unquote accept you. They're lying, but don't sit up there and say that you hate yourself and you wish that you was born something else. This kind of reminds me of what Tyrese put on his Instagram page back in February when he said, I wish I was born Latino, even though there's no way you can be born Latino. But he says, I wish I was born Latino, all based off of a video that he posted about this Mexican family buying their father a vehicle. And he used that as a benchmark of them coming together and doing something for someone in the family, and made it seem like black people don't do that. So that was him doing self-hate right there. And this guy right here is basically doing the same thing. But the thing about his is Tyrese did it too. He threw black people under the bus. This guy's doing the same exact thing, but with extremists. And he says, if that upsets you, unfollow me. Well, I wasn't following him to begin with. So it really doesn't mean a damn thing to me when it comes all down to it. But like I said, it just shows right here, without the shadow of a doubt, is that this guy has an immense amount of self-hate. I don't know where it came from, but it's very odd and very weird to me. But speaking of where did he come from, I actually found out something very interesting about this guy when I was looking through the comments. Well, not so much the comments, but the quoted messages or the quoted post from this thing that he wrote. And it was very interesting to find out who he's related to. So I pulled this up right here, And look at what it says, William Holt. So his real name is William Holt, but he calls himself Byl Holte. But you know, Bill is short for William anyway. And look at what it says underneath there, Patti LaBelle's son. Now, don't be confused when it says parents, Patti LaBelle and Jacqueline Holt. Basically, what happened is I think this woman, Jacqueline Holt, is related to Patti LaBelle, and that's her biological son, hence the last name. But Patti LaBelle ended up adopting him because technically, through blood, that is her nephew, Patti LaBelle's nephew, but she adopted him. I don't know if there was some kind of issue. Maybe the mother couldn't take care of him or couldn't raise him. So Patti took him in and ended up going through the court system and basically adopting him. So when I found that out, I was actually really surprised. Like that. Now that I did not know about him. Like I said, when I looked up him and Patti LaBelle, then I started seeing some other things. Even related back to a story I talked about back in 2020 when he got into it with some kind of white politician who ended up exposing themselves because they thought they were tweeting from their other account when they said that they were black, but then they realized that I think he was going back and forth with the person and they exposed themselves saying that they were black, but they was really white. It was hilarious when you think about it in hindsight. But this guy definitely has some severe self-hate issues. Even down to his Twitter bio, it's very weird too. So this is his Twitter bio. It says, angry American who's even angrier now that he just lost his country to the third world. I'm real and I write my own post. You can Google me. Well, that's the only way that I would have been able to find these images of you or even know who you were or how you was related to Patti LaBelle. And the crazy thing about it is, I think it's been even instances where Patti has even written some stuff about him, basically just completely in shock and awe by his mindset. So we can't put on Patti that, she was the one that, she didn't raise him right or anything like that, or even put it on his actual mother for not being there. Because apparently from what Patti was saying, she was just as shocked as many people were by his behavior online and the stuff that he would post because she didn't raise him to be like that. And I think that's probably one of the things that could be a parent's worst nightmare is when they see their child or whoever it is that they raise them one way and then they turn out to be the complete and utter opposite of what who they raise, and they probably feel like sometimes that they failed. And that's one thing as a parent who is a good parent doesn't want to have attached to them is them feeling like they failed as a parent or being a bad parent. But the thing at the end of the day, he's a grown man, so he's making his own decision. So I'm not going to put his behavior and his self-hatred onto Patti. Because one thing we do know is that Patti LaBelle knows who she is. We know that she knows she's a black woman and a successful one at that. But the nephew she has, who she adopted, who is now technically her son by law, he apparently doesn't know who he is. This guy has a lot of self-hate issues. I don't know if he needs to go talk to someone or whatever the case may be. But him putting up that post, and especially that part where he says black is just something unfortunate that happened to me in the womb, that is some very deep self-hatred just on that one line alone. If you took away everything else he said and just focused on that part alone, there is a lot of deep self-hate going on, running rampant in this guy that he needs to deal with as soon as possible before it gets to more extreme levels. Because guess what? You can put this online all you want, but when you can't take it out into the real world and think everybody's going to just kind of cater to you. And what makes this even worse is while there was some white people in the comment section that were like, dude, this is kind of off, especially the part where he says black is something unfortunate because you shouldn't even hate yourself. There was some white people in the comment section literally applauding everything that he wrote because they love when they hear a black person do the whole I don't see race thing, because they are the ones that are the purveyors, they're the ones that are the pushers of that line, and they love it when a black person especially says it. But I'm like, y'all just overlooked the part where he just basically said black is something that's unfortunate that happened to him. The fact that they read that whole thing and they still agree with what he said means that they agree that being black is unfortunate, which I'm not surprised by coming from them. I'm really not surprised. But like I said, goes back to what I and Kid Gravity talked about in that stream. Who is worse? the grifter or their supporters.